Hello, hi, I'm Adrian, and I was too lame to stand up here in person. But nonetheless, I am here to go into the full depth and breadth of carbohydrates. I'm actually here to tell you why carbs are really, really cool with science words and maybe answer some of your burning questions. So I bet you guys are all wondering, what is the monomer or possible polymers of carbohydrates? Well, I'm glad you asked. Monosaccharides are the monomers of carbohydrates. Without them, we can have more complex carbs that are essential for our growth. They are the building blocks of everything else that we consume. So there are a plethora of monomers, but the most important ones are triose, which is a 3-carbon sugar, pentose, which is a 5-carbon sugar, and our beloved hexoses, fructose, galactose, and glucose. Glucose is a well-known monosaccharide and is probably the most important one. It is the primary maker of disaccharides and polysaccharides, which are, you guessed it, the polymers of carbohydrates. Disaccharides are basically two monomers. It literally means two sugars that join together to make some other molecules that are pretty important, like lactose and sucrose. So yes, they too are polysaccharides without being so puzzling. Starch, glycogen, cellulose, and chitin are all polysaccharides. It means many sugars. I know, wacky. But they all serve a different purpose to make sure that we don't die. Of glucose. It looks kind of complicated at first sight, mostly because it is. It has 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens. The other hexoses, so fructose and galactose, have the same chemical formula, but they're just rearranged in a different way, which is how our body distinguishes between the three. So the function and purpose of monosaccharides sort of boils down to the fact that they are the building blocks of polysaccharides. So every carbohydrate monomer is very important. And look, I'm not one to play favorites or anything, but glucose is definitely the most useful and important monomer for any living organism. It is the most common monosaccharide in living things and is its principal source of energy. Our bodies use glucose as an immediate source of energy, so if you're in the middle of running a marathon and you're running low on energy, eating gummy bears will help you give a good boost to finish. Fructose is a monomer found in fruits, and galactose is a building block for dairy products. Monosaccharides may be broken down in cells to free their chemical energy, or may be linked in by dehydration synthesis to form disaccharides or polysaccharides. Polysaccharides deal with the curveballs that our body throws, but they couldn't do that without monosaccharides, which is why I think monosaccharides are pretty neat. So every polysaccharide has a different function to make sure everything runs smoothly in our bodies, but also in plants and other living organisms. Starch, for example, is an energy-storing polysaccharide for plants. Starch helps plants do photosynthesis at super speeds. Bread and pasta contain starch and are really useful the night before a big race or an activity involving intense exertion. Glycogen is essentially the same thing, but for animal cells and is great for short-term energy storage. It is composed of a much shorter chain of glucose subunits with many branches, so it is much easier for it to separate itself, which is why it is a short-term energy source. Cellulose is an insoluble carbohydrate composed of glucose subunits. It's the major complex carbohydrate in plant cell walls, and it helps with their structure and strength. The glucose units in cellulose are joined slightly differently than those in starch or glycogen. In cellulose, every other subunit is upside down. This makes it hard to digest but can prevent constipation or be used as a laxative for humans. Chitin is another structural polysaccharide found in exoskeletons of various animals. So this means you'll probably find chitin on or in a turtle's shell, in shrimp, scorpions, in most insects and crustaceans. It is a crucial protective unit for these small animals. So something that's really, really cool about carbohydrates is that they are found in pretty much everything you eat. You name it, milk, fruit, cereal, legumes, corn, french fries. It is an essential molecule that can be acquired in a myriad of ways. It is something needed for all sorts of living organisms, from bacteria to plants to animals and to humans. Anyways, that is it. Please don't go on a keto diet. Carbs are really cool.